Thank you for joining us for Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. You may recall several conversations about creating a triage center in downtown Sioux Falls that helps people facing mental health challenges and addiction challenges. Well, it's been open for over a year now, and it's called The Link. And joining me to learn more about this life-saving resources, City Councilor Marshall Selberg, and his guests are Madeline Miller, who is the nurse manager of The Link, and Janet Kittams, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Helpline Center. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Let's talk a little bit about the background of The Link and how it got started, and then we can talk about all the great work that it's been doing and how the Helpline Center helps as well.
Okay, yeah, and I don't think there's been any shortage of press on The Link over the last year to 2 years as it came together, and with good reason. And I think the first year or so has been a tremendous success, so that's why I thought it'd be fun today to have Maddie and Janet along, Maddie in particular on this Link subject that we'll talk about first. You know, the idea was to, again, in the past, individuals with mental health issues or any kind of disorder, they usually had to be taken with immediate access to like emergency rooms, or they went to jail, or they were using, you know, resources such as that. It was figured out that if we had a service or a project or a building like The Link, where people could be basically taken and get access to immediate treatment and then triaged out into where they need to go for counseling or whatever that needed to be, it might make things a little more efficient, a little easier on other staff, but in the meantime help a lot more people on this subject as well. So I think so far it's been an overwhelming success. I think Maddie will probably talk about, you know, give us some numbers and some stories and some things that have happened over the past year, but yeah, so far so good.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing at The Link.
Absolutely. So we're open 24/7 for anybody that has an addiction issue or a mental health issue that they need immediate support and access to services and treatment. We know that, as Councilor Selberg has said, a lot of times in the past, people that had these kinds of issues didn't really have the right kind of resource to meet their needs. And so the most important thing we do is create that open door for anybody to come at any time to have that conversation and take that first step. And then from there, we link them on to their next steps. Sometimes it's referring to an agency outside of The Link, which the Helpline is incredibly helpful for in that capacity. And sometimes it's having the person come in and participate in one of our programs. So we have a 3-bed mental health crisis stabilization program that's short-term for people that are experiencing an acute crisis that don't need an inpatient or higher level of care or security for that behavior. We also have a 10-bed withdrawal management program where people can come and be treated medically for withdrawal and get through detox. And so typically individuals are with us for about 4 days during that time frame. And then we also have a sobering program for individuals who are acutely intoxicated out in the community that aren't safe to be unmonitored, and we offer that safe monitoring and safe space for those individuals to come.
Janet, how does the Helpline Center help with referrals, or how does that work?
Sure. At the Helpline Center, we answer a large number of calls regarding mental health, substance use. And so oftentimes, The Link serves as an appropriate referral for us, for that caller. So we have referred many people over to The Link. And then in addition, when The Link has somebody that needs to get connected with community resources, whether that's mental health or basic needs types of resources, we can connect those clients.
Sure. Before, what did you do before The Link was available and open?
You know, a lot of times, you know, the call would go out to law enforcement to just directly respond to that person who was struggling with that substance use or mental health addiction problem. So the Link just offers an additional resource, a place for those individuals to go, which is just tremendous for our community.
Are you seeing more people using The Link who would never have probably reached out under other circumstances if The Link was not here?
Absolutely. That's actually one of the questions that we ask of each individual when they come to us is, where would you have gone if The Link wasn't here? And we have had many individuals come to us that have said, nowhere. I wouldn't have sought care. I wouldn't have reached out for help. We also know that people would reach out to the ERs, which oftentimes would give them some immediate treatment, but not enough support with that next step. So we know that we have individuals that are being served. And actually the very first client that we served a year ago, I helped with her intake, and I said, where would you have gone if the link wasn't here? And that individual said, I would have just drank myself to death because I've had nowhere to go.
So it truly is life-saving resources that the link is offering.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on. Councilor Selberg, let's talk about the Operation Hope Fund. What is that, and who does this help?
Okay. One question maybe you want to share before I get into that. How many have come through the doors so far? I think the number is pretty astounding, and I think there's one story we've heard about. Didn't one person come back through 40, 50 times, something to that extent?
Yeah, so that's the unique thing about the link, is that it doesn't matter to us how many times it takes for somebody, and even if that's an indefinite journey for that person, we're intended to serve people wherever they're at, whatever journey they're on, whether it's in recovery or not. And we do have some incredible stories, and the individual you're referencing had been with us 59 times within a 7-month period in 2021, and we have not seen that individual in 2022, and we understand with the most recent updates that that person completed treatment, was able to get into stable, independent housing, and be working in a full-time position. So it's pretty incredible to think how many times it maybe took that person to unwrap all of the trauma and pain and all of the things that, you know, we see our families and our friends and our neighbors go through that contribute to addiction. But I think the thing I would want to say too is, if that person needs to come back for time 60, that's totally okay. Relapse is a part of recovery, and the more we can just be accepting of that and supportive of come back whenever you need us, that's the best thing we can do.
And I think that's the reason I wanted you to share that story.
Yeah.
You know, the message is never give up. And I mean,
That's right.
that was quite a story. So
How many people have gone through your doors?
So actually on June 1st this year, we had our 4,000th visit. So I didn't think we were going to get through 4,000 in the first year, but we had a really busy last 2 weeks of May, and in that time frame we've served 1,426 unique people.
And the Operation Hope Fund, if I can get back to your question, which is what we're going to talk about too, and kind of talk about how that ties in with both the link and the Helpline Center, is we talked about it. My thoughts were, as somebody who had helped put this together, was I think addiction in all its forms was running rampant, and then when we got COVID going, I think that really put gas on the fire. And it was my conviction that, and I wasn't alone, that there are so many people out there that need help, weren't sure how to ask for it, whether it was because of financial resources or whether it was stigma. But I think there were people from all realms of life that were needing help, and we thought, much like the One Sioux Falls Fund, as far as a model where there was funds set aside to help people with rent when COVID stuff came up, we thought, why don't we put a fund together for people to access that need the help for whatever their addiction or mental illness or whatever it might be, you know, give them a resource. So that's how we naturally had kind of started the talks with the link and the board and these type of things, going, how can we help there? And they've been a great partner so far. What I'm really excited about, especially that we'll talk about now, is how we're going to tie in with the Helpline Center and the program that's coming up, because I think that's really going to get the ball rolling with the fund and really help people above and beyond what the link's doing, which they're doing tremendous work, but I think this will take it even further.
So it was a $500,000 supplemental budget, and that's was city funding.
Yes.
For this. Tell us a little bit about what that money helps with.
Well, pretty much, you know, it can short-term housing, transportation, medication, medical care supplies, you know, legal needs, storage. But what I would say is, for the most part, the idea behind it is it's for about anything that could come up, any need. And there might be a list of kind of a guidelines to use it for, but there's also some flexibility with it too. You know, I give the example of, there might be somebody out there that you wouldn't think of necessarily as, maybe you'd call them middle class or somebody who seems to be doing fine, but that's struggling, and maybe they don't have insurance that covers addiction services or this or that, and they might think, well, maybe I can't afford to go. Well, that might be an option for this too. And there are a few people on the board that makes decisions where if there's unique circumstances, whatever it might be, the idea behind this money is to help whatever your situation is. So.
And then the link manages that fund and can help with that, or how does that work?
Well, I'll lean on Janet a little bit for
Janet,
this question.
okay.
So currently the link has used those funds to help primarily with transportation and transitional housing needs for the clients that we've served. But we're really excited to partner with the Helpline to reach more people just outside of the walls of the link that also need that kind of support. So.
Yes, so starting in July, the Helpline Center is going to introduce a new phone number, nationwide, a 3-digit phone number, 988 is going to be started on July 16th. So what that phone number is designed to do is to reach people who have mental health, emotional distress, suicide crisis, or substance use issues. So that will be promoted across the country, but of course we'll promote it here in the Sioux Falls area also. Since that's kind of the front door or the gateway into receiving help for any kind of mental health or addiction issue, we thought it was a great idea to partner with the fund to help people who may call in who find a barrier to accessing that care, whatever that may be. Like Marshall just talked about, there may be transportation issues. There could be a copay issue with insurance they just can't afford. And so when my staff identify that over the phone, we'll be able to offer the fund as a resource to meet that need. So we're very, very excited to be able to do that.
So, you know, when you think of $500,000, it seems like a huge amount at first, but when you know you're helping people in need and that there is an endless need, especially like since the pandemic and with people facing addiction and struggling with mental health, how will that get replenished, and will you take donations? Can citizens help with that?
Their donations can be, there have been donations made, they can be made. We also did, you know, as an example, in November we put together a little November was the name of the campaign we did to try to raise a little money and again awareness to the program. So I mean, things like that are ways that they can be replenished, but I'm also pretty confident that, you know, my goal for these funds, and I think the rest of the counselors had the same goal, and I hope we all hope that these funds get used and used quickly because they're needed, and I'm quite sure government-wise, whatever we have to contribute and replenish, we'll do that as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the 988 number, because that's like changing your brand. Will 211 still be a thing, or does that go away completely?
Good question. So 211 is not going away. The Helpline Center will have 2 3-digit phone numbers.
Okay.
So 211 will be that phone number that you call for community resources, for basic needs, financial assistance, housing, food assistance. We'll still be there 24/7 to answer those questions. 988 will become the point of contact for any kind of mental health, behavioral health related issue, an emotional crisis, substance use, suicide. So it's really kind of retraining folks that we have 2 phone numbers that are easy to access just for very different reasons.
Okay. Does that work outside the city limits?
Yes. So the Helpline Center will actually be answering 988 for the entire state of South Dakota, and it will be launched nationwide on July 16th. So no matter where you're at, you'll be able to dial 988.
Okay. And then does 211, is that the whole state as well?
Yes, 211 covers the entire state of South Dakota too. That's not quite available 100% nationwide, but pretty close. About 95% of the people can access 211 nationwide.
Okay. So what's the first line of action when someone calls the 988 number? Well, let's talk about, you know, there's people out there that are thinking, you know what, maybe I need to call that.
Sure.
Explain to us what's the protocol?
Absolutely. We kind of meet them where they're at. You know, they're going to tell us what they're struggling with, what their crisis is. We'll do an assessment, certainly, to establish their safety risk, and if we need to do an intervention, we certainly will. But in the vast majority of the cases, about 80% of the time, we don't need to do an intervention to get immediate help to them. We can kind of talk them through their crisis, stabilize them, and get them connected to additional resources to support them. You know, and the crises not only involve mental health, but also like domestic violence, child abuse. So we answer a whole variety of crisis-related phone calls.
Well, I think you answer lots of phone calls, even how to get your sidewalk scooped. So there's lots of things that go out to the Helpline Center is a great resource for everything. And then will you refer some of those folks right here to the link?
Absolutely. I think there's going to be callers where the link is the most appropriate place to have them go to. So we will continue to partner with the link.
Okay. Any other things we need to know about? What are you looking for? Volunteers? That's something that can you use volunteers? Donations? What can citizens help when they learn more about your programs? How do they help?
Sure. The Helpline Center, certainly we're a nonprofit organization, so we're always looking for financial support or donations, so people are welcome to do that. Our phone line is actually staffed by professionals, so we won't actually utilize volunteers answering our phones, but we utilize volunteers in other parts of our agency, so we would love to have people step forward with that. And I should also mention the other unique part about 988, not only is it a phone number, it will be, you can text it, and you'll also be able to chat with us through 988. So just different ways for people to reach out for help, whatever their comfort level is. Some people don't feel comfortable actually talking on the phone and sharing like what's going on with them, so they're able to just text a message to us or chat with us over their computer.
And that's 24/7.
Yep, 24/7. Yep.
That's what I think is really exciting about this. It's as simple as dialing 988 if you know somebody who has some problems. And I would have people remember this. The date is July 16th. It kicks off, and remember 988. It's as simple as that if people need help. And again, it's great what the link has done and done to work with both Operation Hope and everything else, and it's helped a lot of people, but I think this is really going to expand that and hit a lot of people out there, and I'm really excited for that.
Okay, well great. Well, it's wonderful hearing more about your programs and your projects, and this will not be the last time that we hear. We'll get updates, and we want to know how it's working,
Sure.
As time goes on. So. Great. Well, thank you. We will be back in just a moment. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Levitt Shell and what's going on downtown Sioux Falls. We'll be back in just a moment.
DTSF is an amazing place to live, work, and play. And this summer, we're expecting an especially busy downtown Sioux Falls.
To help make sure everybody stays as safe as possible this summer, here's some traffic and pedestrian safety tips for you to follow when you head downtown.
Speed limits in downtown are generally lower than in other parts of Sioux Falls, with most speed limits being 20 miles per hour or less. As you enter the downtown area, be prepared to slow down and be aware of posted signage for the speed limits in that area. Failure to do so could result in a citation. Sidewalks in downtown are designed to be pedestrian safe. For that reason, sections of Phillips Avenue between 9th and 12th and on East 8th Street as well are restricted from bicycle, skateboard, and scooter use. So remember, skateboards, bicycles, and scooters cannot be on sidewalks in downtown to help create a safe pedestrian environment. Additionally, pedestrians should look for posted signs and crosswalks and use those when crossing the street. Downtown Sioux Falls has many great outdoor spaces for residents and visitors to enjoy. Excessive noise from engines, loud music, and loud exhausts restricts people's ability to take advantage of these outdoor spaces. Excessive noise is a violation of a city ordinance and could result in a citation being issued. Please, be respectful of everyone that is enjoying downtown Sioux Falls.
While we may not agree on everything,
Like who's the best university in town?
we can all agree that creating a safe environment to enjoy DTSF is worth striving for.
So whether you're traveling through or headed to a downtown destination, remember, slow down through downtown and have a safe summer.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall. Our next topic we are talking about is Levitt at the Falls. If you haven't been there, you need to go. And we're here with City Councilor Marshall Selberg, and his guest is Nancy Halverson, the Executive Director of Levitt at the Falls. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, not everybody in Sioux Falls has been to the Levitt yet, and so now we need to get them there because it is an absolute jewel in the city of Sioux Falls.
And it's summertime for outdoor concerts and fun, so perfect guest to have here and get us ready for the summer.
Yeah,
That's right,
so
thank
let's
you.
talk about this. Give us just a little bit of background of the outdoor music venue is what it is, and how it got here and why we need to be there.
Sure. So Levitt at the Falls is part of a national network of outdoor music venues that were all created to build community through music. It's actually a family foundation that was started, and we were selected. Right now we're the smallest community to have a Levitt shell in the nation. There are 9, eventually there will be 12. And all of us are charged with free music, making it accessible to everybody. So that's what we do.
Let's talk a little bit about you opened and then there was a pandemic, like many businesses, and although it's free for people to come to the event, you started off with many challenges even though it was an outdoor concert.
Yes.
And how did you get through that? And now there's light at the end of the tunnel.
That's right. That's right. Well, actually, the Levitt was 10 years in the making from the time the idea came to our town until we opened in 2019. That first year, we enjoyed 30 free live concerts, and we broke all kinds of attendance records, and then the pandemic hit. And we knew that year that it was critical for us to find a way to keep going, both because we were the new kid in town, we had to keep the energy happening, but then also thinking about our community and what our community needed, right? We were all hurting so much, alone, stuck in our homes. So we, like so many businesses, pivoted, and we created something called Levitt in Your Living Room with our friends at South Dakota Public Broadcasting, who helped us basically do interviews over the internet. We were able to show the best of artists' work and interview them. So it was kind of that backstage conversation you don't get to have. So it was something that we didn't even know we wanted to do, but it ended up being terrific. In that first year, we had over 200,000 viewers on 6 continents. So it was fascinating to see it just kind of go viral. And then we created something called Levitt in Your Neighborhood, and that was a program where we hired local musicians and took them to perform in places where people had to be together. For example, we actually did a couple of concerts at the Avera Cancer Center. They have that beautiful atrium, and then the treatment rooms are above. So we had the musicians below. They were playing music, and people could hear it as they had infusions. We took a band out to the state fairgrounds where they were doing the food giveaways, and people were waiting in line in the heat for hours to pick up their food. We had musicians there just playing along as they were in their cars, so they could just have a little relief, just give people a smile. So that was what our COVID year was like.
Sure.
And then last year back to 40 concerts, and this year up to 50.
So nice that it's access to performing arts and concerts, and again, it's at no cost for these folks to enjoy it.
Sure. And talk a little bit about what this does for Sioux Falls. Having the Levitt shell in downtown Sioux Falls and having access to this program that hardly anyone in the country has.
Yeah, again, another addition, another reason why we're such a unique and special community and city. It's just another thing a little above and beyond what you normally find in this part of the country and in a city our size. So, and of course it's kind of around the downtown area, which we always seem to have something new and exciting going on there too. But yeah, we hear nothing but good things and excitement around that, and maybe you've heard some things too you want to share.
Sure, yeah. So, with the arts, people always talk about the feel-good part of the arts, but I think it's important too that we talk about the business side, right? Having the Levitt in downtown has had a huge economic impact on our community. So we know that it cost us $4.6 million to build the facility. That was all through donations, right? The city contributed the land, the National Levitt Foundation helped, but then it was the rest of our community who stepped up with those dollars. So $4.6 million once to build it. Now every year going forward, we bring over $5 million in economic impact to the community. That is a good return on a dollar, right? And now, those numbers are actually from 2019. Now you consider all that has been built, the cascades, everything that's happening with Sioux Steel. That number, I can't wait to do the next economic impact study and see. I'm sure it's going to be closer to 13, 14 million
I would think so.
that the Levitt is responsible for bringing back to our community.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So do you have research that shows that people are traveling to Sioux Falls, they're getting a hotel, they're coming and they're spending money in the hotel hotels, the restaurants, the bars, everything?
We do. Actually, we work with an external research firm, and we have folks on the lawn 12 nights throughout the summer who will do research for us. So they're doing a survey asking people, did you eat at a restaurant? Are you staying at a hotel? How far did you come? And what we have found is that they are. I mean, they are spending money downtown, and they're coming from miles away. So we have had visitors from every single state and from 14 countries. The bulk of the attendance is from the states obviously surrounding us, but it has been a huge draw. Again, you know, from a tourism point of view, economic impact point of view, this is important to our community.
Talk a little bit about the whole concept of getting artists in to perform, because while it's free for us to come and listen,
yes,
your artists are not performing for free.
Oh no. Actually, so we're an interesting nonprofit, right? Most nonprofits have a business model where they try to do 50% earned and 50% contributed to get to their total. For us, we're intentionally 98% contributed. Tiny earned revenue for us. So we're always out asking. In fact, somebody asked my son when he was younger what his mom did, and he said, I think she's a fancy beggar. So we're always looking for those sponsors. Sanford Health is our lead sponsor. They have been for 5 years now. And then for every genre of music, like country music or rock and roll, we have a genre sponsor, so those folks. And then every single concert also has a sponsor. So we're always trying to find creative ways to engage the community and let them come be a part of this and help it continue to be free. So yes, the artists are all paid. That's really important to us. And there's many local musicians on our stage. So we'll have the 50 headliners, and then we'll also have 50 opening acts. All 50 of those are paid local performers. So we will employ about 400 artists every summer, and that's just performers. That's not all the technical crew. And I would say half of those are local.
Okay. Talk about your need for volunteers, because I've been out there and there's a lot of people working the grounds.
Yes.
And I can't imagine that you have a budget to pay people.
No, that's huge. So we actually pride ourselves on what we call radical hospitality. So when you walk up to the lawn, we want somebody there to greet you with a smile, welcome you, and give you directions, give you a schedule, and all of those folks are volunteers. So every night we have about 18 volunteers with us on the lawn. Sometimes those are just individuals who have gone through our website and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. Other times it's our sponsors. You know, a bank may be the sponsor and say, we're going to send you 12 volunteers for the night. And they all wear their bank t-shirts and they make it a party, right? It has been so much fun.
Yeah, we hear back from a lot of those volunteers, and they just talk about the atmosphere and how much fun it is. Great. And it's, yeah, you hear about that a lot.
You know, when I didn't really understand what it was when I went the first time, and then when I saw families getting up and there's dads and their kids up dancing, and the families are dancing, and the individuals get up and they'll just start dancing, and they bring their own lawn chairs or they can rent a lawn chair. Yeah. The whole place just comes alive. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter what kind of music is playing. Mm-hmm. People just absolutely love this event.
Thank you. That just makes me so happy to hear.
Well, you know, but you know, because it's so new. You know, it's so new, and not to understand. You know, usually if we're going to go buy a ticket, or even if we're going to go to a free concert, it's going to be something that we know the band, or we know who's going to play. We want to research that before. And a lot of these artists we've never heard of. Yep. And they have just completely different music that we don't have a lot of access to. Mm-hmm. And so to get out there and to see everyone in the crowd enjoying music that you've never thought you even like it's pretty incredible.
It is. And you know, I love that you say that. That has actually been my goal. I want people to say, what are you doing tonight? Well, we're going to the Levitt. Well, who's playing? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're all great. Right. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can come, spend 30 minutes. If it's not your cup of tea, that's okay. Come back tomorrow. It'll be something totally different. Yeah. You know, the diversity of music has been really important.
How do they get the schedule, and how do they know what time it starts?
Sure. So the best way to get the schedule is on our website, which is just levitt.siouxfalls.org. We're also on social media, of course, like crazy. And I really do suggest that people watch that social media on nights when weather looks a little iffy, because we'll always update what's happening if we need to delay for rain or whatever. We do go rain or shine. We'll only stop if it's lightning or something dangerous.
All right.
Well, you do a great job. Your fancy begging is doing pretty good.
Thank you.
Doing a great job.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, and check out the Levitt Shell if you have not been there. If you would like more information about what's going on in the city of Sioux Falls, go to siouxfalls.org. That's our time. Thanks for watching.